Hey guys, it's Matt in Exile, and today I got a new friend, Constitutional Vet, and today we're going to be talking about history and government. But first, I wanted to know more about Constitutional Vet. First thing, what's your name?
Yeah, so my name is Ben, and my channel is ConstitutionVet. And in fact, I'll go and put the link in the chat box. I know it's private right now, but I'll let you take that. Um, so I started my channel. Well, by next week it'll be a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week
Well,
will be my 1 year mark.
don't
Uh,
worry, don't worry about the link. I already got it down in the description area for everybody.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, my wife encouraged me to do this because there was a need, and the need on this platform was we need more teachers. We need more people who can provide historical analysis on what's going on today, but also provide resources for homeschooling parents. As we've seen a massive influx of parents who are sick and tired of the Marxist crap going on in school boards. And so parents are just taking their kids out. But the problem is they don't know what to do. They don't know how to teach their students effectively. And so my channel basically serves three goals. And the first goal, again, is to provide historical analysis to modern day events. Second goal is to provide educational resources to homeschooling parents. If you explore my channel, you can dig through it and you can find all those resources. And thirdly, my third goal is to provide hope and encouragement, to remind everyone, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. It's not impossible.
It seems like I really am. When it comes to the channels I watch, I'm really attracted to people that are trying to produce hope for everybody. You, William, Shannon, Michael. There's others that I also watch a lot.
Dr. Steve Turley, his channel is fantastic.
Yes, Dr. Steve Turley. There's a lot of people out there that try to give you hopium. That's and they want you to have hope that tomorrow will be better. And I think what's going on in this country now, you see the Biden administration starting to fail and everything. And I see a lot of hope here that we're going to take over the Senate and the House, and then he's going to be locked. He's not going to be able to do anything for the next 2 years.
Right.
Well, at least anything more that could destroy the country even more when it comes to bills and stuff like that. Now, he could do stuff like what he did today, actually last night, he decided to not drill or sell actual oil leases to in the Gulf of Mexico or in Alaska. So that's going to create issues with the price of oil and gas going up again, even more so. And
that's another thing about my channel too, though. A lot of guys do a great job at providing daily updates on what's going on in the news. I'm a full-time teacher, and so I don't have the luxury of time on my side. And so I do provide, again, our historical analysis. But recently, I've taken a more sarcastic, humorous approach to what's going on. And I've been making these videos. They're nature mockumentaries. I take a David Attenborough approach, and I showcase people that are absolute dirtbags, and I basically make fun of them. And I do it in a witty nature documentary type of way. But then I also have videos that give tribute to patriots like us who've been fighting that fight. And so, again, that's where my channel is at right now. So I'm not going to be the best of sources for day-to-day updates, but I do keep up with what's going on the best I can.
The nature documentaries are mockumentary. Those things are hilarious. I especially like the Hunter Biden one. That one's really fun. Yeah. Guys, if you can, just go check that out. It's great. But another thing I want to ask you about, were you in the military? Because it says Constitutional Vet.
Yes. Yeah. So the whole phrase is Constitution Vet. And so I was in the military. I was in the Air Force for almost 9 years. And I'm actually in my classroom right now where I work at. And so if I can angle my camera here. So right there is my wall of achievements. This half is the Air Force. This half is more of a college stuff. But yeah, I was in the Air Force for almost 9 years and I loved it. Great experience. I got to see amazing things, and I got to see things I hope none of y'all ever have to see. But that experience molded me. And so I know what it's like to be government property. I know what's like. I can tell you firsthand, the government is not always the best when it comes to doing things the right way. So, that's my perspective. I love my country. I will gladly fight for my country. That does not mean I have to agree with the way it's led.
So I kind of want your perspective of what happened in Afghanistan. What do you think about that?
Mm. So it's funny because a lot of my students ask me this because they know I served, and I always have to rein myself back in to be professional and to not show my bias because I'm a teacher. I got to be the neutral party, right?
Yeah.
But I know a lot of veteran buds of mine who all agree. I think we all agree that we should have left. Yes, leaving wasn't wrong. It's
No.
the way we left. I've read many articles, modern day scholars comparing it to a modern day Saigon, the way we left, just up and boom, gone. And the biggest problem, from my understanding, is that the previous administration did have a plan set in place. There was already a plan for us to gradually leave, but the current administration scrapped it, and we just up and left.
Well, by what I
And
know about Trump's plan, he wanted to leave by, I believe, May, before the winter ended there. And not only that, he also wanted everybody out first, including all the materials we had there and everything. And the last people out is the military. Now, what Biden did, he got everybody out, those in the military, and left civilians there, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. You get the civilians out first, then you get the military out. So when that happened, he had to scramble and send military back in and take over that airport.
here's the thing. My next video that I'm doing is on the trifecta of trash. It's on the top brass, the leadership on the military that should have resolved this. It was inexcusable. I do not care what your views are. The way we left Afghanistan wasn't just an embarrassment on us. We stabbed our allies in the back.
Yeah.
When we just up and left. Because people forget that. It wasn't just America in Afghanistan, it was NATO. I served in Kandahar, which was a NATO base. I have the NATO ISAF medal because I served in NATO. So I understand Afghanistan might have been a lost cause. That's a whole nother debate for another time. But the way we left was an insult to every man and woman who was sacrificed over there. More importantly, it was an insult to all the local Afghanistan people we've been trying to build relationships with. And it didn't help that we left millions of dollars of military equipment, just left it there.
Yeah.
Like, again, I've done a better job at controlling my emotions, and I've had time to really think about it. Leaving wasn't the issue; it's the way we left.
Yeah.
And as many times as I can, I wear my Afghanistan pin because it's like now I might have an inkling on how Vietnam vets felt. I might have an inkling. I'm not saying we're just like them because I know they were treated horribly when they came home.
Yeah.
But the way we left was inexcusable. There's no reason it should have happened like that. And I know for a fact, if the previous administration was still in office, it would not have ended like that.
I agree. The other thing I was wondering about the whole thing was, were you were stationed in Afghanistan, weren't you?
Right. Yeah.
Where at again? Where at again?
Kandahar.
Kandahar. What was your duties there exactly?
So my job worked on the flight line.
Okay.
My job in the Air Force, basically, it was airport operations. That's the best way I can explain it.
Okay.
I was the guy on the flight line uploading and downloading cargo off of aircraft. That was my main job. Basically, once the plane parks on the ramp, my job takes over. We service the passengers, the fleet, the cargo, all of it. And my job manages everything that happens on the flight line. So That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious about that because last time I talked to you when we were doing the blue collar talk, we
Right.
didn't get into what you were doing in Afghanistan when you were stationed there for a while.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious about that, so I'm glad you resolved that. The other thing is when it comes to the Biden administration, how they did how we left. It's pretty bad whenever you got Britain and France that denounces the leadership of America like they did. That's
That's
bad. That's horrible.
that's the point I was making before. It was a
Yeah.
NATO mission.
Yep.
America only had a small amount of actual control over Afghanistan. The rest of it was divvied up between different NATO allies.
Yep.
And so when we sacrifice major military installations and when we leave Americans and other allies over there,
Yeah.
the global war on terror is done.
Yeah.
Operation
And
Enduring Freedom is done.
and it's pretty bad that we had to have us military, ex-military, going in there getting people out and try to get them into the airport area. We had a bunch of people doing that. You also had the French send in special forces and the British send in their special forces to get people out. And the United States didn't do that.
So basically, Afghanistan is right back where it was before 2001.
Yep, pretty much.
It's like the past 20 years did nothing. Now, to be fair, Afghanistan in itself is a beast to deal with because even in Iraq, I also served in Iraq. Iraq at least had an infrastructure.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein was a maniac. He was a psychopath, but he at least had an infrastructure. You had highways, you had networks, you had communications, you had actual cities, you had some form of economic infrastructure to run a country. But Afghanistan is tribes. It's been tribes for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when you go to a country that only has two major highways, it's mostly mountainous, and you have tribes still doing what they've been doing, you're not going to get the same result. And so looking back at Afghanistan, our military forces and our allies did amazing work, especially groups called PRTs, Provincial Reconstruction Teams. These were the guys who would legit go throughout the provinces, go beyond the wire, and would legit try to rebuild these local villages. But when we just up and left, of course President Karzai is going to feel betrayed. Of course he is, because it's like, what was the point these past 20 years?
That's why their military also folded up, because they didn't have the air support to actually hold back the Taliban from getting into Benghazi. Or not Benghazi, but,
It's, again, like, you can have a pretty healthy debate on whether we should have gone in the first place or not. You can have a healthy debate on whether our operations were good or not. But from all the veterans that I know and have talked to, I think we all can come to a common agreement. The way we left was inexcusable.
Well, I thought, in my opinion, the reason Biden left the way he did, why he pushed it till that time period, he wanted to get it to 9/11 anniversary and have a photo op instead of actually trying to get people out safely and securely, and tried to keep the government that was there at the time in place. Instead of doing all that, his main focus was to just have a party and show 9/11. We left at 20 years later. It's an anniversary and a picture taken. That's what it looked like to me he was trying to do.
So here's the hope. Here's the good thing. There's so much garbage out there, so much things to feel bad about. But here's the good news. The more everything they do, everything this administration does is one more nail in the coffin.
Yep.
Yes, we have issues on our side. Yes, there are rhinos. Yes, there are dirtbags on the Republican side. And yes, we need to be very clear on what the word conservative means. Absolutely. But there was that wonderful image that Elon Musk created, or maybe it was Bill Maher, but one of them made this awesome image where it shows a stick figure on the right, and it was like conservative. And over time, the left kept getting further and further and further away. 10 years ago, the word conservatives is very different than how it is today.
Yeah.
Today, the word liberal is completely different than how it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, a liberal was someone that believed in free speech, free markets, and even freedom to own a gun. They don't believe that at all now.
Nowadays,
Or really, what there are progressives.
well, here's the thing. Nowadays, it's shocking, but it is very encouraging to me when you see guys like Russell Brand. Holy crap, Russell Brand was one of the farthest leftist Hollywood actors out there. Now he's an outspoken critic. I wouldn't say he's probably, well, I don't know. The word conservative is different. I would call him conservative. I would call Joe Rogan conservative. I would call Bill Maher conservative now. I never thought I'd say that. But the point is, in my opinion, being conservative is simply someone who is willing to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the kicker. I'm not saying I'm going to agree with everything Bill Maher says or Russell Brand says. That isn't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we all know how to think for ourselves.
Yeah. See, I would when I categorized them, I put them in with where my dad's at, and they're classic liberals.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right, right.
And classic liberals seems to be joining the Republican Party now.
So, shocking.
Yes,
right. You have never seen that. You would have seen that 4 years ago.
No,
look at what has happened in just 2 years.
Yeah. It's because they're looking at it and be like, just look, that dude that's swimming with those girls, that's not a woman. That's really what's pushed them over to that edge, because they're willing to go against the narrative and say, no, men and women are different. Mm-hmm. There's no pregnant men. There's none of that happening in this world.
And when you have guys like Bill Maher who are straight up criticizing dirtbags in Canada like Trudeau, Bill Maher's like, wait a second, you are sounding like that guy from World War II with the funny mustache.
Yep.
Wait a second, people with unacceptable views, what? So, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's easy to get discouraged, but if you just stop and look at what's happening, look at what's happened since January. One person in Florida ruled that mask mandates on travel is unconstitutional. One person. One person just bought out Twitter. Whether you love him or hate him, it doesn't matter. One person did that. One person is governing Florida and is giving a massive middle finger to the federal government. Like, one person can do a lot. One person is investigating the Clinton crime family.
Yeah. Well, one person's investigating Hunter Biden laptop.
One person can do amazing things. So don't think for 1 second that you can't do something.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and get into the government and the history part of what you do for a living. I kind of want to talk about that because that was one of my favorite subjects when I was in high school, is history.
Awesome. Yeah, and sadly, a lot of people don't like history because they weren't taught by good teachers. Nothing against coaches, but when I was in college, people asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be a history teacher." And they said, "Oh, you want to be a coach?" I was like, "No, I want to be a history teacher because I love history.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it because it's a job or it's a paycheck. I love history, and I feel that the best way to live your life is if you gain practical skills from the past." And that's the kicker. In my classes, whenever I do my unit assessments, I don't do A, B, C, or D. Instead, I ask my student, what do you think is important? What stuck with you? What are your thoughts? And what practical skills can you pull from this material, and how can you apply it to your life? That's it. That's my assessment.
I got a question. What first thing? What grade do you teach?
I teach 6th grade through seniors.
Okay. Well, okay. My question is, when it comes to the government, you teaching government, how many of the kids actually know what the three branches of government are and what their functions are in government?
Yeah, so most of my students don't know what they are. Like, they've learned basic things, but nothing like concrete. But I keep things as clear and concise as possible. So my main goal for them is to understand the main purpose. The executive branch enforces the law. The judicial branch interprets the law, and the legislative branch makes the law. That's it.
Yeah.
If you understand those 3 key points, everything else will start making sense.
Now, that's going to kind of direct me into Roe versus Wade, because what that was the judiciary branch of government making law, is what that was. I mean, that's my argument to it. And that's the reason you had that bill that just got a no on when it comes to abortion. And the reason it didn't, it was because it wasn't actually codifying Roe versus Wade. Well, at least that's what Joe Manchin says. That's the reason he voted against it. It wasn't going to get to 60 votes anyway. But my thing is, whenever the judicial branch, whether it's in the federal or state, when they decide to actually make law instead of determine what the law is or what it means, so on and so forth.
Right.
Whether it's constitutional or not is really what their job is. But when they do that, that's when they're stepping outside of what their place is in the Constitution. And
yeah. So it really boils down to some key points. Number 1, the Constitution. The Supreme Court interprets it. Okay, and it makes decisions based off of what it actually says. The Constitution makes very clear that states have this thing called sovereignty. If there's nothing in there that's clearly enumerated as a federal control, then it automatically goes to the states. Now, that applies to a lot of things. For example, you can have recreational marijuana in Colorado. You can't do that in Texas as of yet. The gun laws in California are way more restrictive than they are in Texas. That's because of state sovereignty. South Dakota never locked down in 2020 compared to California. That's because of state sovereignty. The states have every right to give a middle finger to the federal government and do things their own way. So my question is, what happened? At one point, everyone was told you must poke yourself. Well, what happened to my body, my choice? Now, all of a sudden, those same people who were saying, you must get poked, now they're all mad that all of a sudden, Supreme Court saying, wait a second, the poke mandate was not constitutional. Now we're looking at this again. There's nowhere in this about there's nothing about this in the Constitution. So we are planning to give it back to the states, and that's the main takeaway from this.
See, when it comes to the Roe versus Wade, what killed me about it is Democrats, they're not too smoking fart. And the reason I'm saying that is because if they wouldn't have challenged the law that was the Mississippi law and it wouldn't have went up to Supreme Court, this would never happen. The thing with Roe versus Wade, the way it's set up is pretty much the states get to choose what the term limit is when it comes to abortion.
Right.
Well, in their opinion, the Democrats in these states, they believe the term limit's all the way to 9 months. And that's what should be throughout the whole country. And that's what they think Roe versus Wade says. That ain't what it says.
Right.
Well, that's the reason they decided to actually challenge it. And when they got up there, now it looks like they're going to lose Roe versus Wade because of their idiocy, without thinking about what would be the consequences of us challenging this. We could lose Roe versus Wade instead of just allowing Mississippi to have, what was it, a 15-week ban? If it's below 50,
Yeah, I think it's 15 weeks. I know Texas made one. It was a 6 week.
6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. Wow. So if they wouldn't have done that, it wouldn't have happened. And it kind of made me laugh because this is something that they made on their own. This is a situation that happened because of their arrogance. And that's where it led them to.
It's a very, I mean, this whole topic is understandably complex. Like I can understand, to be completely honest with you, I can understand someone from the other side saying, well, what if this happens to you? You didn't choose it. It was a traumatic event. I get that. However, because of my religious beliefs, I also look at this as a simple thing of life. It's like, look, I do understand that there's a difference between preventing life from happening compared to life happening and then deleting it.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in my opinion. Now, again, I don't expect people to agree with me. That's fine. That's just what I see. My biggest thing on all of this is, what do you consider a life?
Yeah.
Because if you consider life begins at conception, then the whole term of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, well, you are taking away a life. That life did nothing wrong. Personally, my wife is adopted.
Yeah.
She's the product of adoption. And this whole debate and argument, it seems like the whole topic of adoption isn't even coming up. Like, so many families can't even have kids, but they want kids. Yeah. Adoption is a fantastic avenue for that. If you are pregnant and if you honestly don't think you can provide for this child, then let someone who can provide for it. Don't just take away that life. So yeah, I am pro-life. I'll say that. But at the same time, I'm not going to just scream at people who disagree with me. I'm not going to throw Molotov cocktails at their businesses if I don't like them. I'm going to hear them out and want to talk with them. But that's the problem. That's not happening. When the left doesn't get their way, they're going to scream and get mad and attack.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a conversation.
Yeah, they're going to get violent. Perfect example is what's going on at the justices' houses now, where they're protesting, which the governor of Virginia has asked for Garland to finally put security with these justices, and finally he's doing it after almost a week. But in my opinion, how is that any different than what happened on January 6th? Because January 6th, the idea of that was supposedly to intimidate some of the people that were mostly Pence, trying to stop him from counting the electoral college against Trump. Okay, that's what they're saying. Okay, well, if that was supposed to be intimidation for him, how's this not intimidation to stop the court from actually getting rid of Roe versus Wade? You know, if you're going to have that argument, you need to have that argument for here as well. Because that's what they're doing. They're trying to intimidate these people.
I personally do. I do agree the information should not have been leaked. I do think that was definitely a big freaking problem. I get that. However, if you actually pay attention to what's going on, they're giving the power back to the states.
Yes.
That's it. They're not deleting anything. They're just putting it back to the states. So if you want to have this in a state that's okay with it, go to that state.
Yep.
Hence, state sovereignty.
Yeah. I believe Reagan also called it vote with your feet.
And that's another piece of encouragement. We are seeing that happen actively when so many people are leaving places like California that they're losing seats in the House. I teach that to my students. It's like the people in our country have such an impact. It's not just about voting. You can literally move. And if you do that enough, that's going to have major ramifications.
Yeah. Well, is there a topic you want to talk about for a minute?
Well, yeah. So on the topic of state sovereignty, the reason why I love my state so much, it does have its flaws. I'm not saying Texas is perfect. But the reason why I love my state so much is because when I was in grad school, I did a lot of research on the history of Texas. And there's a reason why we have that stereotype, the Texas stereotype of we're just maverick renegades who fiercely love freedom, who don't give a single crap about what the federal government just says. The reason for that is the Comanche Empire. No other tribe in U.S. history was as powerful as the Comanche Empire. So let me give it to you this way. I'll keep it very simple. From 1743 to 1900, the Comanches dominated Texas. There's a reason why half of Texas is basically empty. You have towns like Amarillo and Lubbock and Odessa, but they're nothing compared to DFW,
No.
Austin, Houston, right?
I was born in Lubbock.
Well, there you go. Now, those towns were founded very, very, very early on. But the point is, that whole region was controlled by the Comanches. It took six nations trying to either make peace with them or defeat them. The Spanish couldn't do it. The Mexicans couldn't do it. The Texans couldn't do it. The Confederacy couldn't do it. The French tried. They couldn't do it. It wasn't until America took control of Texas after the Civil War that they were finally able to combat and defeat the Comanches. But the point is, when you live in a frontier like Texas, and when you literally have to fight every single day to survive against the most powerful tribe in U.S. history, that creates a certain type of individual. It creates an individual who is willing to do whatever it takes to fight for what is theirs. And so do the math for a second, okay? 1743, 1900. That's 157 years, I believe. Now do the math. Compare 1900 to now, 2022. That's only 122 years.
Yeah.
The Comanche Empire lasted longer than the entirety of the modern era. Just think about that for a second. That's why in Texas you can have tigers on your property. That's a fact, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why in Texas you can have, you want a gun? Go for it. You want a tank? Absolutely. You want a tiger? Heck yeah. That's why Texas is this wild frontier, is because we were created in the fires of war. Literally every single day from 1743 to 1900. And so I take pride in that. We come from the fierceness of the Comanches. And so next time you go to Six Flags, that theme park, it began in Texas, that theme park. And it was called Six Flags Over Texas because it was for each nation that controlled Texas. It should be called Seven Flags because the Comanche Empire literally dictated everything that happened in this state, in this region. So again, that's my passion, is Texas history. And that's why I'm so adamant in state sovereignty. And so, yeah, that's it. So, don't think for 1 second you have no power, because you do. And don't think for one moment that your voice doesn't count, because it does. This right here is proof of that.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead and end the show. I really appreciate you doing the show today. And guys, he's going to be on This Way Network tomorrow doing the chat session with me and Dave and Callie. Check it out. I'll have the link in the description area so you can pick it up. And don't forget, hit like and subscribe and share this. And check out ConstitutionVet. Do you have anything else to say?
Never surrender, never submit.